What if you're homeless and you're different, but you have an internal drive to help people in the spiritual community? I got a chance to speak to Ashlea Piefer. She helps people with their mind, body, and spirit, and she has an amazing story. Here we go. We're going to talk about what she does and see if there's a connection. She's got very dark brown eyes, which could mean something. And welcome to the show, Ashlea.
Yeah, I was born with very dark brown eyes, and they actually change a bit here and there as I go about my life. They tend to reflect different colors. They can look quite a bit lighter. So they're pretty dark right now. Like if you go through my social media, you'll notice they change a bit depending on where I am. I think it has to do with the dimensions I'm navigating at that specific time.
I got energy coming out of my hands, but I don't talk about it. I don't know. I don't present it as, it may be because I've not been in the space either. You know, you get more comfortable in the spiritual space to say, you know, what you want. So what do you mean by that? Different linear places and so forth.
The dimensions.
Yes.
So depending on where I am frequency-wise, what I'm navigating for myself, which is also for the collective, they tend to change, like the light reflection. So if I'm in a dimension of experience where I'm collapsing, you know, I'm going through a situation that is a repetitive pattern from my childhood or, you know, ancestral or ancient lineages, that's a dimension. And if I'm navigating that dimension in order to heal, to release, to collapse space and time, to align myself more fully with God's natural laws and my sovereignty, I can sense changes in myself.
Well, if you're out there listening, I mean, I just caught on to this and I've never heard it explained like this. When you hear the word dimension, I think people may think of like something you see on a movie. But if you understand that, just based on how I understood it, is that could be that experience that you're holding within you.
Absolutely. It's the vibration that you're verbiating at that reality responds to. That's your dimension. So our thoughts directly impact the dimension of experience we're creating. If you look at the spectrum level of emotion, your thoughts can directly impact your dimension of creation.
When you're wide open and you have sensibilities and...
Man, you know, it's been a process, John. There are multiple times on my journey where I questioned my sanity and still do to this day. Mm-hmm. But I just kept that desire to know my creator. And therefore I got to know myself and grounded myself into my bones. And when the mind was fragmenting, going into all these different directions, I focused on my senses. So this is years of developing tools and modalities that are backed by science. You know, it's kind of a mix between science and spirituality that really brings you in to the matrix of your body so you can claim it and command it for your highest potential. So you don't lose your mind. And then there's other things, you know, like little things like our food matters, what we put into our body, the TV, the music.
When you say science, the real science that's not really recognized, because I talk about the law of attraction and the fact that science only uses two parts of law of attraction to determine answers for humanity, which created a realm of physics that is incorrect. Talking about the quantum field, which is the correct realm of physics. And I think that needs to be explained better because people don't get that, but that is 100% the truth.
I think there's a new type of science that's happening. And our old science is based on the limitations of the current consciousness. So we know consciousness is rising. We know we're elevating at a vibrational level. What does that mean for science?
Well, I think we have to recognize the quantum field, which is the right realm of physics. And that's a big thing for me because I actually wrote a book about that. And I actually used it because this book, anybody could use this process. And I wrote this book about finding a perfect audience and displaying. I was able to use content on social media, right? Content on social media because it mirrors human behavior. I was able to demonstrate the quantum field using content on social media because the internet is based on our nervous system, and then the information that has been collected from these apps is human behavior. And the only thing that offsets that is the algorithm, which creates balance based on the business agenda of the app. People don't realize that they're mirroring human behavior on social media.
And that's extremely interesting because I think it mirrors what's happening in the structure of consciousness, the algorithms. Like basically everything runs on an algorithm. And if you can figure out your algorithms, you can break your own code. You can create your own self.
Let's say if you want to reset your life, or you want to reset your business. So if you're the source, let's say you're a chef, you're the source, you're delivering your passion, and you convey your message to the world in this space, the chef. Whatever tone is attracted to that is a demographic. So once tone attracts tone, you receive that demographic. You need to design, instead of 10 people in the room thinking they know everything, you need to focus on that top 20% of that demographic and design your business around that demographic, the top 20% demographic, because anything outside of that would be exponential based on the tone that brought in the demographic.
Okay, I'm trying to take that all in so I can use I'm listening really closely. I'm trying to hang on to every word there, because now you're talking business and I'm thinking, oh, my meta. Trying to put
it's all the same thing. That's the thing. Everything is linear. If you can put everything on the quantum field and reset it the right way.
I have hope that is what we're doing for humanity. I have hope that many of us are locking into that.
I mean, let me ask this about you. So you're a young lady growing up. Are you from Ohio?
I'm from Michigan. I grew up in Michigan, but I've been in Ohio since 2011.
You're going through these emotionals. Did you know what was going on as a kid, and how did you kind of get to this point from a kid's mindset?
I don't think I ever had a kid's mindset.
Okay.
I really don't.
You probably didn't.
I grew up very fast, very young. I was the oldest. There were 4 children in our household, and I kind of had to take the lead on some things because that's just what I had to do. 8th grade, I want to say that's right around puberty. I was hanging out with an older crowd, and I just happened to be getting into the occult. So I was tuned into the esoterics and some of the darker aspects of consciousness at a very young age.
Well, you probably had to you got to go to the darkest places to get where you're at now.
Absolutely. And I stand by that. And I'm proud of how I've been able to dive to some of those depths, because I think that's what's given me the momentum to reach the heights of heaven and to connect with some of the celestial spheres that have supported me on my journey of alchemy.
That you really didn't have much parenting as a young child or kid?
I would say that my situation, my parents were children themselves, trapped in mental limitations and addiction. So they did the best they could with what they had, but they didn't have the tools themselves.
What was your breaking point of that?
Well, I was doing some things. I hung out with an older crowd. That specific one where we were doing what we were doing in the occult, she ended up taking a different path. She's now in prison for murder. We cut things off pretty fast because she went down that path shortly after we were having these experiences together. It just kind of naturally faded out. I was homeless at between 15 and 16. I didn't really have a house. A woman from the neighborhood took me in. She was kind of took in the strays. And then I just worked really hard. I worked as a server, got my life together, began the process of healing and recreating who I'm supposed to be. And it's been a long process.
Did you know at that time you had these abilities at all?
No, I thought it was mental illness. Yeah.
Okay.
I used to play with fairies as a kid. I thought there was something wrong with me.
Interesting. I think, whatever we're pissed off at, if we're pissed off at good or whatever, I think we rebel and we push that as far as we can. You probably still mentally knew your limitations for some reason.
Perhaps. Or perhaps I had the right guidance in the right places, making sure I got to where I need to go.
Now you're in the space of helping people, and maybe that story needs to be told more, because I think that relatability, there's might be a lot of people you could help that can relate to that story. I
think a lot of people can relate, because I hear it from my friends, some of the experiences they're having with their children, especially the new ones coming in, being more sensitive, more in tuned, more empathic. There's a lot of challenges that come along with that when you're a child, especially when you're going through puberty, because everything is so much more intense. So to have the right tools and resources that you can use on a daily basis to regulate your energy, to navigate your sensitivities, it's game changing. It's game changing. It's been game changing for me to educate myself as an adult and to use these tools, which now help me navigate so many situations, stay away from so many things not meant for me.
Your lineage, mom and dad, what is the lineage of the family and the bloodline?
Hungarian. We have a lot of Hungarian on my father's side. My mother's side is German and Irish. And my father's side has Irish as well.
Seems like something comes from your father, not your mother, for some reason. I don't know. That was just my first instinct. What comes from your father?
You mean the sensitivities? Yeah. And as you're speaking, John, you're giving me goosebumps again. And I knew you were going to be able to tune in to my energy. So his mother, she was normal. She didn't have sensitivities. His grandmother, my great-grandmother, she had sensitivities. And I don't think she knew she had these sensitivities, but I remember her telling me stories. I remember her telling me stories about hungry and some of the things that they would do. And they were ritualistic. They were metaphysical behaviors and things that they would do to keep evil away, to keep darkness away. I think it came from that side. I think the sensitivities came from there. And when my father's mother died, I was there. I watched her pass. And I saw the energies and the frequencies that came in. It felt very Hathorian, which is kind of like a divine feminine essence. Some people feel they're Venusian. It's a divine feminine congregation collective that kind of came in with her. And I think that that's something ancient that has followed my bloodline.
I think it's a different thing for some reason.
But I can share something with you that I experienced on the river in Belize.
Let's hear that. Yes.
Okay. So there's all these energies, these deities, these beings and intelligences that contribute to creation, right? And I'm on the river in Belize. I'm taking an hour-long river ride to the Mayan ruins. And I start to have this experience. I start to have this warm sensation come through me, through my vertical channel. So I feel my body. And I make an introduction to Oshun. Oshun, she told me who she was. She's a divine dispensation. So she comes onto the planetary body, but she holds her own intelligence to create the instructions and the morphogenetic field sets for nature and how it organizes itself and what it offers. And what she told me, she was showing me her waters and how they've made their way through the people and through certain land. She's connected to others that match that frequency set. It's like a divine network of information, instruction set. Some way, somehow, we've given them names. So Oshun is actually a deity. I looked her up.
Yeah.
And this is what she does. And what she told me was not every area of the planet is that way. Some areas have been so distorted and manipulated by what has plagued this planet, the parasitic structures and entities and living beings that exist within our fields of intelligence. They have distorted different areas of the planet so that the instruction sets for nature are not in alignment with the divine. They're distorted, they're inverted. So it's almost like those areas are completely siphoned through black hole technology and the energy's siphoned and sucked out. And I have a feeling you know exactly what I'm talking about. And she was telling me that. And I think Hawaii might be one of those where they have these, they're not like physical beings, not like a paradigm. They're an intelligence. If there's enough momentum in that area of the world to create the waveform that supports it, it maintains itself. And as we can navigate through this photon belt and all this energy comes on the planet, some of those beings either have to ascend or transit out because they're no longer supported in this harmonic. They can no longer do their work here or actualize themselves.
Low-level energy. I learned about that. I removed like a 1,000-year-old deity from my cousin accidentally. But when I got into the conversation with it, I was saying the right things unknowingly and got it to say its name.
That's innate. It's innate inside of you. You just knew.
But the thing about it is, the only reason I was able to have this thing is because when my cousin meditated, he was able to repeat what this thing said. It started talking through him, and it was a she. Long story short, she got very agitated. She said, "Don't challenge me, John. Don't try nothing tricky." That's what she kept saying. My cousin, the first 2 days with him, very hard to get along with. And I've had people wonder why people disappear in my life all the time. And I think that's the reason. But I didn't realize how much influence these types of things had on people that is created from trauma. You know what I mean? That spoke to me a lot.
And that entity was probably plugged in to multiple other people. And that's how it sustains itself. That's how those structures sustain themselves. And they do. They're entity structures. They're like portions of our planet that feed us information, and then we behave in certain ways. But when we can recognize it for what it is, we can disconnect. There's a lot of that. Like I've come across a lot of that.
This information that you have you really studied anything, or this just kind of evolved within you?
A combination of both. I found ascension glossery. And when I found that, everything in my life made sense. So that is ascension glossary is basically like a study tool for those on the ascension path with different information about exopolitics and ET agendas, which many of us are probably already seeing, experiencing, sensing. This just kind of wraps it all up and helps you understand what's happening at a higher level. So that was game changing. I studied that for a very long time. Like I mixed between occult, esoterics, psycho, neuroimmunology, which is the connection between our immune system and what's going to serve my clients. So I have a hodgepodge of modalities and resources. And
when you get involved with a client, I mean, how does that work?
I have a couple types of people that come to me. People that are psychically curious and they want to develop their spiritual intuition. And then those who are high-level entrepreneurs and they want to reset. So we do a guided meditation and recalibration and kind of lock them in. And it's all based on where people are in their awakening. If you know your chakras and you want a full alignment, we can go in and do that. If you just want me to talk calmly, take you into a theta state and bring your body into ease so you can access your own genius, we can do that too. But I haven't really pushed so much with my business. I've just kind of been following the path and aligning in flow and letting it kind of unfold as it's meant to. And it's been a beautiful journey. I'm just here to serve the right people who I'm meant to connect with. 2018, I put myself out there and I went like full throttle. I mean, I was putting some stuff out there that, would really shock people. And I know I could feel the feedback and I could feel the energies and the entities that exist within the structure of consciousness.
You were just saying you could feel like the negativity, when you put yourself out there, and that's kind of when you step back. So now you're kind of coming back to the plate a little bit.
I had to build my boundaries. I had to strengthen because social media, I mean, there's an entanglement. Every time someone looks at your image, every time someone watches your video, there's an entanglement happening. And sometimes you can feel that. You can feel what people think about you, what they're projecting towards you.
And what are your goals currently? What do you want to achieve in the space?
I would like to have more people start meditating. So my goal is to promote meditation and to help everyone connect directly with their innate knowing, with their inner genius, with their magnificence.
You're in Ohio. Is there a big community in Ohio?
Yeah, it's small. This is the Midwest, and it's different here than it is in some other areas. I even noticed on my socials, my biggest demographics, California, Texas, and Florida. And it was that way when I was doing this work a couple of years ago before I took a break. Those are my biggest demographics. The Midwest is a little bit more challenging. So I do events in my city, small events. I do psychic events with smaller groups. I do sound baths. I do metaphysical conversations. Our conversation, we're going a little bit deeper. We're going for metaphysical. I wouldn't bring that into the spaces here. It could shock people, make them uncomfortable.
I just talk about what I think is real. When you really rationalize the information that we're talking about and understand how to rationalize it, I mean, it's foundational at the end of the day. So just because someone don't understand it and they have a defense mechanism because they don't understand it, that's not our problem.
I agree. I think my goal, my mission is to just initiate and introduce the basics of self-mastery and self-understanding. And then from that point, people will naturally awaken their genius, their knowing. They'll start to reach those other angles of intelligence so they can receive exactly what they need. But the first step before you seek anything outside is knowing how to hear what's going on inside.
So what do you do as a normal person?
As a normal person?
Yeah.
I like to dance. I like music. I like nature. You can find me outside climbing trees. I play The Sims. I'm a bit of a nerd. I love fashion. I love beauty. I love flowers. I love essences. I took a walk this morning and was connecting with the essences. And I was thinking to myself, man, if more hybrid beings, 'cause some people there's some hybrids on this planet. If they could just connect more deeply with nature and the essences, it would make things so much easier.
Well, you were talking about the nature thing, and I had this experience with birds. and I had these birds, these robins, like 200 robins follow me down a street, right? A whole, like at least 10 trees. And then I got to this point and made a left, and they stopped at the tree line. And I mean, I don't think I was delusional, but I swear there were like some walking by my feet, some flying around me, and I looked behind me and there was none behind me. But I started studying that. And if you ever looked up King Solomon, I can't remember the name of the book, but it's about birds. The understanding of that and understanding of maybe what the girl was talking about in Belize is that the swirls, right? Animals see you in swirls. And at that time, I just come from meditating out here where they put boats by the harbor in Charleston. And one of the first times I ever meditated to start bringing energy back into my body that someone else told me I should do. If you slow down the swirls and align the swirls with animals, that's heaven on earth. I slowed down something in a where it felt comfortable. But I've never seen 200 robins because that was one Sunday. Then the following Sunday, I walk outside and the same 200 robins are in my yard.
That's beautiful, John. That's a significant something for you. You might even want to look into the components of robin, like what they might mean spiritually or metaphysically, and study that, because that's really significant to have that many birds show up for you.
Yeah, we have owls and stuff. We have some, I'll show you this owl that hangs around the house.
That's how you know. And you just hit the nail on the head. This is how you know that you're in alignment with God's natural order, because your energy will feel spherical. Anywhere there's stagnation or heaviness, that's not in alignment. That's the static. That's the kind of, I guess we could call it the sunken place. That's where some of your life force gets siphoned out. So if we tune into our body from the bones to the soft tissue to the subtle spheres around us, 1 foot, 2 foot, 3 foot, and just start to spiral that energy and clear out any of that heaviness, any of that density, we can become a lot lighter and hopefully have experiences like you did.
That's when a lot of this stuff, what's going on now, kicked off for me as well. I think like after that, things really picked up.
Happens like that. You have your awakening, the synchronicities come, you start to recognize the synchronicities. So then you create more synchronicities for yourself. And then you lead yourself to that knowing that, oh my goodness, I'm creation.
What do you got planned this year? Anything going on?
So for me this year, I kind of want to bump it up a little. I'm offering one-on-one sessions. And then I plan on having a lot more going on my website. So check out the blog. There's a lot of helpful stuff there. I am still offering custom events in my city of Columbus, Ohio. And if anyone's interested in working with me, they can reach out. We can do virtual, set up some packages, and just ascend together so that you're not alone on the journey. I think sometimes it's just the simplest thing you need is someone to hold space.
Who is your current family now? I mean, you have kids, married?
No kids. Not married. Got a couple Frenchies and a boyfriend.
Can you pick up the energy? And
yeah. What
is your sense of my energy? Yes. What is your sense?
Well, you're solid. You're grounded. I would call you a watcher. Like you provide feedback loop for some of the, if we looked at your birth chart, I wonder where the galactic core is. I think you provide feedback loop for a lot of, like a feedback for certain levels of creation.
And what does that mean? Like, I'm just like, right here, looking this way.
Well, some people resonate. They're Pleiadian, they're Octurian, they're this, they're that. I can't see you resonating with any of that. I can see you resonating a little bit with all of it. And that's because you probably have been all of it. So like tuning into your soul stream, it feels similar to mine. Although we're different people, there's a specific resonance, like a depth of understanding at a soul level. And I can recognize that in other people. And this is what makes my work so special. And I think what sets me apart is the level of depth I've gone to and I'm willing to go to and to navigate, to hold the light in the midst of darkness. A lot of people won't go there. You've gone there.
I guess I haven't had a lot of fear. Because, if you eliminate fear, you eliminate trauma. And I've had trauma, and there's stuff I had to work on and get rid of because I've had fear, but I think you get to a point where you have to eliminate fear, if you've been down the road. But I think, too, like if people are listening to you, I think that the ones that really have something are the ones that have the least confidence. And I'm not saying you have confidence or not, but it's just, I think if you have a lot, it's hard to explain to the public. You know what I mean? So I know you're real. Oh, and I think other people need to try to figure that out instead of trying to, maybe fall on a path of something that is not even close to being real.
Yes. And this is such a loaded thing because you said, I know you're real, but I'm over here thinking like, what is real? Like, what is truth? And I ask myself that. So you're probably asking yourself, like, what is truth? What is real? And it's telling you she's legit, like she's honest about who she is and what she's got going on. And I feel the same, but we don't do that enough. We have to put in like, is this truth? Is this truth for me? And my heart, I do it in the heart, not the mind.
I mean, I'm not even in the space. I'm just now talking in the space. And I guess I have more than I realized, because I realized that there's a lot of fractional information out there that doesn't make a lot of sense.
You're embodied. That's how I can feel you, and I think you can feel me, is because we've embodied. There's a certain light quota that you have to reach a certain level of light embodiment in order to tune into those higher sensories and really sense it. And I feel like you're embodied. You're embodied to the depth of that level of darkness and the height of that light. You just feel like a solid person. You don't feel wishy-washy, secure, stable, somebody that's, equally balanced between intuition and logic. Ideal. We need that. We can't be all the way up here, like everything's good. We're living in 5D. Everything's love and light. No, that's a trap. Yeah. That's a trap.
Definitely interesting. And hopefully people can learn from this conversation too. I mean,
how can you tell, John? Let me ask you, how can you tell? Because I kind of like put it out there and made an assumption on how I think you can tell. But how can you tell that I'm quote unquote real? How's that come for you? Is it sensation? Is it
the energy feels euphoric?
Okay, so you can tune in to my sound tone. You can tune into my field just through my voice.
I can feel all your energy right now.
See, that's so cool. And it's amazing because that means you're on physical ascension. Like your body is going along with you. I don't think everybody is. I don't think everybody's on that physical ascension journey. So I just want to express that I think it's very important that we have a few people in our circle that we can confide in. When we need help discerning certain energies or navigating challenges, having a good support system is key. People you trust.
And I don't think it's as complicated as people think. The unknowing makes it complicated.
Tune into the heart. Like, how does it feel? Yeah.
I think it's understanding too, because this is what I say all the time. I says, if you have a discovery mindset, wherever you land on that discovery is light or dark. So if you understand creation, you eliminate all the discovery.
I love that. Yeah.
And we feed off what we see. So if we feed off what we see, we continue to create opinions and controversy. But if we create a new idea in a new direction, you eliminate opinions and controversy. That's the quantum field. You stay ahead.
Thing you're saying, and that's why you go inward. Like you secure it here and within self first.
I feel like I'm being brought into this spiritual space to give people a foundation and make people who come into this world understand the foundation, because absolutes don't work. And you have all these spiritual people out here running around trying to sell whatever they're trying to sell. Everybody's not going to have success from you, right? Everybody's not going to have success with that one person, because everybody's not going to resonate. Their tone is not going to resonate. So you can't take one direction or one ability of a spiritual advisor and think it's going to work for everybody. But I think if you can make people understand the foundation and then align the tones, make people outside looking in understand the foundation, and then align the tones with the correct spiritual helper or whatever, then you eliminate the bad customer for each person, and it's more efficient, and it comes from a source. That's what I see. I mean, if you want to talk big picture, that's what I see in this space, because it's not there at all. And I think the timing of it is interesting. Very interesting.
I think that you're going to make significant waves in this space, and you're going to activate, you're going to awaken, and you're going to trigger the right people in the right ways.
Cool. Well, everybody check out Ashlea Piefer, Spiritual Guide.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, if you like our conversation, let's reach out.
How do we find you?
You can find me on my website. It's my first and last name, ashleapiefer.com. And you can also find me on most social platforms as Metaphysical Ash, or my first and last name. And I'm accepting new clients. If you feel resonant with what I've shared and you would like me to help you, reach out.
Appreciate everybody listening. Hope you learned something from this. It's not as complicated as it may sound. It's a lot simpler than you think. So do your homework, and I think you can learn more from this process. My name is John Edmonds Kozma, CEO of Bang Productions, owner of the TikTok Live Creator Network Agency, and host of the Unimpressed Podcast. See you next time.